because we're pressed for time, we're going to continue. Anyway, so you can do like anything. You can take smaller ships. I got some other stuff that we'll highlight in the next episode when we work on the smaller little A-Wing that I customized. I took like a classic G.I. Joe snowmobile from the 80s, turned it into a sweet speeder bike. Super easy to do. A little bit of paint, a little bit of plastic, a little bit of glue. Oh, speaking of glue, these things right here, amazing friends. Including this one that feels a little sticky. So, glue. Sometimes I use this gel. It's good for items that may have, stress points in them, because the gel hardens just like a super glue, but it stays a little bit soft. So, like, if a joint's going to take a lot of impact, gel's a good thing. Get your regular like Gorilla Super Glue, or CA is what people call it. Amazing stuff. It works with ABS and PVC plastic pretty well. There are some plastics that it doesn't bond well at all. It can be a pain. The other thing is, if you go to your Lowe's, you can find this 2-part epoxy. It comes in this like super big double barrel syringe. Amazing stuff. It's rated for like 5,000 pounds or something. I don't know. You can mix a little bit on a piece of cardboard. Mix it up real good with like a stir stick like this, a little wooden stir stick. And then you got about 45 seconds. You do it on. You mix it really well. You epoxy it onto your piece. You spread it on your piece. You attach your piece to your plastic. And if you're lucky and you've gotten the right epoxy, a plastic-based epoxy, and when it attaches, it will never come off. It'll snap off the plastic before it breaks the bond. That's some amazing stuff right there. I usually save that stuff for like big pieces, like if you're going to add a wing onto something, like those canards, those little winglets, that kind of thing. All right, so dry brush. How do we dry brush, you ask? So we're going to add a couple pieces of silver, just like that. See, the great thing about this Vallejo too is with this applicator, you don't end up using a whole lot. Now, here's the good thing. Here's the tough thing about dry brushing. You want to make sure that your paper towel or tissue, I recommend paper towels, but like a fool, I left it downstairs. That you can tell this is not paper towel. This is the other kind of paper that that the T comes before the P. Anyways, it all works the same. So you can see I got it there. All right. Now, for a dry brush, you can use 2 kinds of brushes. We're not going to use this. This is a great flat brush if you want to add a wide, if you want to do like wide detail. For a dry brush, you're going to want something that has the bristles kind of blown out, because you want it to kind of you want the bristles to kind of, you can do this too. You just smash it up, smash it. You want those bristles to kind of lightly float over, and you want to pick away. So the first way we're going to pick is we're going to go kind of left or right across Han like this, and then we'll go back and forth this way across Han, and we'll pick up all those details. We'll hope to God that he's dry enough. The key to the dry brush is this. You want to get a little bit of paint on there. See how we got a little bit on there? You want to kind of get it off a little bit, spread it out some. Then you want to wipe it on your paper towel like this. All right. We'll start here with this crotch region. All right, and hopefully you can see well. Let's get in here so we get some good color. And so I'm holding my brush high enough. I bet you there's still a lot on there. The less on your brush, the better. And so we're doing this. You can see, I hope you can see, yeah, you can see, it's starting to pop on those high areas. And one little dry brush can go a long way, right? Get his boots. Now don't be too upset if you get a lot on there the first time you go through, because remember, you're also going to add what we call a wash later, which is going to go in and cover up some of these details a little bit. And look at that. From that one little bit, we could have used a fraction of this paint. And you can see that it's picking up a lot of the detail in the highlights. Highlight you Han Solo. You can't see it so much that way. Maybe see how he's popping out? He's like, I'm free! Defrost me, Leia, quickly! Bosh! Alright, so we grab a little bit more paint. We mix it around a little bit. We wipe it off on our towel. And we're going to change directions. We're going to go top to bottom. Han, old buddy. Stay with us, Han. You can see he's kind of really popping out now. It's a great thing about Han. You think to yourself, Spotty, you put on too much. It's crazy. So much. You want to make sure that you also kind of rub it in a little bit around the sides here. So in these flat areas where there's less ridges and things for the paint to adhere to, you can kind of smudge it in so that it gets these details in here. Because this is what we want. We want the silver to really pop on these crevices and bits of detail. Because we're going to go back, we're going to dirty it up some. You might notice too from the picture that we saw, it was pretty silvery, right? And it had lots of dark in it. But the black really, the base coat black really gives a deep shadow. There's my wife. You would start there. So, really dark shadow. It kind of allows the paint to go across it and leave lots of space. But it's important that you don't go hog crazy with the dry brush, because you don't want that silver to really get down in those crevices, because that's where you want your wash to go. You want it to really stay on those details. But you can work it in there real good. Work it. You can see that it's coming out pretty good. Wipe it off on the towel here. And just get in there nice and good. Oh, you can see all that. Yeah, you can see that Han's really popping. Pop, Han, pop. It's important that Han pop. And what's kind of cool, like a lot of people get like a good dry brush and they use it a lot, and you'll find that dry brushes are, after a while, they're like nasty. Their bristles are all bombed out, and you're like, oh, it's horrible. But that's kind of what you want. You want those bristles to be able to kind of wick up this paint, but then kind of lightly brush across the tops of things. And you also want to go different directions and lightly. Don't gouge into stuff, because that will be bad. Sometimes you can gouge. I don't know. Sometimes you can't. All depends. Don't forget Han's neck there. Kind of get all around his face. You can almost see that we don't even. Yeah, you can really see that the black is really popping out here. It's inside those crevices, but sometimes the silver gets down in there, and you're like, oh, silver's down in there. How do I get it out? It's cludging up my details. And then you can grab the sides here. I assume that the carbonite is like this on all the sides. Han, old buddy. But the black really makes a really nice base for just about any color, but especially for silver and metallics. So you want to get in there. Do these side pieces real good. Like I said, we'll come back And at a later date, we'll paint the insides of these instrument panels. You know, we'll do that off camera. And we'll see how that works out. Let's see, we're at 1 hour and 10 minutes. We have about 20 minutes left. I want to keep this to about an hour and a half, especially for the first episode. God knows nobody can last that long. Probably already fallen asleep by now, right? Think I have. Anyways, so, you know, we'll get in here and we'll leave this about an hour and a half, and we'll do some off-camera stuff, and then we'll come back in a couple of days and have episode 2 where we're working on the first Y-wing. Just, you know, kind of doing, reinforcing the same principles: washes, dry brushes, layers and layers of paint, precise kind of detail for like lights and things or stuff like that. And it'll help us all to come out with something that we like. Also, like I said, the video you see right there, the slideshow you see, that's source material. You know, I just went on the internet and I went to image search in Google and I just typed in Y-wing, and there was about a bajillion Y-wing pictures. And I looked at, you know, I might not want the original color of the special effects model that Industrial Lights and Magic used, but I want the detail. Right, so, you know, they've got the detail in the hoses and, you know, the couplings and the pieces here and there, and that's stuff you can't get a lot of times from other pictures. But, you know, the color that you paint something, you know, the pinstriping, the unit designation, that's all up to you. That's the best part about customizing. It's your special little baby, and you can do what you want. We're almost done here. And I must say, this is, you know, really fast. So let's say you're dry brushing here and you go like, oh, I just messed up, what do I do? Grab your towel like this and just kind of go back over it a little bit and it'll come up. And what to do again? Add a little water. Maybe grab the and get in there, because it's acrylic based. It'll dull up a little bit and wipe away. And that's really good too with the wash. You know, you get in there, the wash will be too dark and you'll be like, oh, it's everywhere, what do I do? Just add a little bit of water and just kind of wipe it away. It's gone. That's the best part. Let's get in here and get these pieces right here. Bam, bam, bam. You're gonna be surprised at like just this, you know, we haven't done a lot of work to this. It's 2 colors, black and silver. And really, I think that's the only colors we're going to use tonight is black and silver. And you see, like, Han Solo is really popping here. All right, so we're going to take a close look at Han. Wow, he needs to work on his hair. All right, so let's see if we can get a good picture of Han in here. You can see Han is really popping there. It kind of looks like carbonite, you know. We're going to put a little bit more silver down, I think, to kind of pop these highlights, so that when we do the wash, we get a lot of good wash spots in there. So what this wash, Han is pretty well carbonized in his carbonite, but I want the silver to be really good around the outside, so that when we put the wash in there, it's got a place for it to go and really contrast. Like I said, you can get in there in these flat areas and really kind of rub down, and you'll get a lot of paint off the bristles, and then it'll get in there really good. All right, Han, how you looking there, buddy? Not so bad. All right. It's wash time. It's wash time. All right, so how do we do the wash? First, let's clean up this brush a little bit. The worst thing you want is your paint to dry on your brush, because then it gets a little stiff and yeah, not so good. All right, so we're gonna let Han dry for a second, and while he's drying, we'll chat for a minute. So what else do you do? So these two pieces, like, well, the one thing you can't do is you can't put paint back in to your Vallejo bottles. That sucks. Sometimes if you use a regular pot like this, sometimes you can get the paint back in, especially if you had to pour it. A lot of people paint right out of the pot. That's cool. Some people like what's the famous? So there's a paint that I don't like to use. I've used it a couple of times. It won't remain nameless. It's basically the Wizard of the Coast Warhammer Citadel paint, I believe it's called. It's an acrylic, but it has a lot of enamel kind of properties to it. It's not a bad paint, but I think it's all in what you use the paint on. The paint is made to go on Warhammer figures and vehicles, and those are normally, or at least they used to be, they're more resiny, plasticky now, but they used to be a lot of, metal and lead, or no, I won't say lead, because lead is bad for you. You lick it and you get all the dead pieces. But it is kind of a lead piece, those lead figures, and that type of Citadel paint adheres really well to that. When you take that Citadel paint, you apply it to like a PVC or an ABS, you'll get a lot of like thin streaks, and that's because the particulate pigment in it is made to kind of adhere to that metal, and it has trouble adhering to that plastic, so it kind of like the water tension in the paint will cause it to kind of streak, and in between those streaks you have these kind of troughs and hills, and they kind of, the surface tension will suck it together, and you'll get these streaks. And so you'll either end up killing your project by having to put down like a blob of paint just to get coverage, or you'll put it on and you'll be like, I have to go back again and again, and you'll have to put down like 3 or 4 coats. And sometimes with acrylic paint, especially paint that has trouble adhering initially to your material, is that when you go back with another paint or another coat, the water in the second coat will loosen and break up the first coat, and you'll start to peel paint off as you paint the second coat, and that can be frustrating. So Polyess paint from Floquil and Vallejo Model Color, excellent. I love them a lot. The downside is this Polyess, they don't make it anymore. So if you want this like you can tell, this Polyess is probably made in the 70s. I don't know. Let's see if we can find a date on here. Floquil made this in Canada in the year 2000. No, I have no idea. There's no date on this. Maybe it's on the bottom here. 94, 13. No, it's not 13. I bought it way after that. I want to say, I don't know when. It's old. Floquil doesn't make this anymore. It's super old. But, I found a lot of it on eBay. You can buy a lot. Some people have, still sealed bottles. It's amazing. There was this little place. I used to live in California, the Bay Area. There's this little model shop in south of Belmont that had these Polyess just kind of, tucked in the back. And, oh, my God, when I found that place, I was like, 1 bottle, 2 bottle, 3 bottle. I'll take the 4 blacks and, the hard color. The colors you use a lot. I'd be like 4 blacks and 3 whites and some reds and some blues and some yellows and 1 or 2 more blacks and some of these silvers and stuff. So, good to go. The downside about getting a lot on eBay is that you'll get blacks and whites, and then you'll get random colors that you'll never use. Like Bugbear Brown. What is Bugbear Brown? I don't know. But I have 2 bottles of it. Makes a good mud. Alright. Han is kind of dry. So let's move on to the second piece. I'll be right back. I'm going to get some fresh water. You're thinking to yourself, Spider, why aren't you going to put all the paint in that water? But no, you don't put all this paint in that water. What you do is you grab a little black, and so first of all, wash. What color do you do your wash? This is controversial. It's up to you, really. Some people like to take they like to look at the color of the particular dirt or grime or whatever they're trying to get in that crevice, and they get a darker color of that, and then maybe they add some black, right? So they might take, let's see, let's use this for example, the Millennium Falcon. I used a kind of a darky tan on it, but then for the wash, I took that tan, I added some black to it, mixed it together so that I got a darker tan. Then I added water and mixed those two together, and you get a darker tint of the original color that you started with. And when you look at dirt on your car or somewhere else, it's not black. It's not like, oh look, it's black, you can't see through it. No, it's usually like a tint of the paint below it. The grime kind of sits on top of it. So that's what we're trying to do, is get that. But for this application, luckily, it's black. So we'll do that. So we'll add a little bit more black to this, and you'll be like, hey, Spider, why aren't you putting all the black in the water? No, it does not take a lot of water to make a wash. That's the great thing about this. So boom, 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 a little bit of black. You see how much black I put in there? Not a lot. I'm gonna grab this big brush again, and I'm basically gonna take this water and go broomp, broomp. A lot of people have like a science behind this, like one dollop of paint to 4 dollops of water. I like to just kind of, depending on how you want it to be kind of milky. So when I mix this together and I look at it, kind of run, see how it runs? Run, my friend. It's kind of milky. And when it runs away from a spot, let's see if we can see this. So see how black and dark it is there? When it runs away from the spot, it kind of flows away. You get less there. That's the kind of color you want. All right, so think to yourself, you're crazy, man. How you gonna ruin that with all that black? It's gonna get everywhere. You just painted it silver. Why? That's a great thing. So watch. You got to take the wash and you got to apply it everywhere. Boom. I'm sorry, Han. You're getting the wash, whether you like it or not. So you think like, oh, it's too dark. Oh, it's never too dark, So, and we just have just enough wash. I made just enough to get in there, basically one time. So, all right, the wash is all in here, and Han is thoroughly washed. You think like, oh, grab a little bit more, make sure you get inside those crevices real good. All right, I think Han is pretty well washed. All right, clean the brush real fast. Dry off the brush real fast. Now comes the good part. We're gonna let it sit approximately a few minutes, not too long, because we don't want the paint to. This is two different ways. So sometimes you can put if you make it like really milky, like a lot of water to paint, you can apply that that wash, and it will migrate to those like crevices, and boom, dry there, and you don't have to touch it again. That's great for like panel lines because they're really, they're really deep compared to you have those. You've got panel lines like that, super deep panel lines with big edges. It gets down in there, and the paint has a place to go. right? And it sits down in that trough and dries. And like I said, surface tension from the water will pull that pigment into the trough, and that's great. Another way is what I just did is you can lay it on partially thicker than you would think, and then you can go back in a minute with your towel and kind of brush it over that, and that will the paper towel will absorb a lot of the water, a lot of the pigment, but it won't go down too far into those deep crevices, and it'll also kind of brush across those high spots and really bring that silver back out. All right. You can kind of see, like, as we've been sitting here, that the black has really sucked into, like, those crevices. You can really see it, like, right in here. So yeah, that's the surface tension of the water's really drawn that pigment into that well. Yeah, looks nice. We're gonna let it go a little bit more. We don't have to go. So the big thing is you don't want to go too more, because I can see, like, by looking at this, that he's getting a hell of a lot of grimy buildup around him, where there's, of course, like some, where Han's body meets the edge of the carbonite. That's where, anything at like a 90 degree or 45, whatever, water's going to have surface tension across that and kind of bubble. It's naturally going to try and draw itself into that crevice. And you don't want that, because you don't want like a magic marker outline around your project. You can kind of see it a little bit. See how it's going around there? Oh, and of course when you tip them, everything flows out. You could do that too. You could also like let access kind of just roll down it, whoosh, like that. You're looking. You're looking for that paint to get just down in those crevices. All right, so what we're gonna do next is kind of just dabble and dab, dabble and dab. And we know that there isn't a lot on the edges, a lot of grime on the edges of the carbonite. So we're going to make sure that those edges are a little cleaner. Make sure it's nice and good. We don't want a lot of black on the sides, but we want to make sure that we still get a lot in those crevices. This crotch region is a little crotchy. People are sending me messages like crazy. Sometimes you want to say like, "Oh, that came out just fine." Maybe like this, and maybe grab a little bit more in here, and focus in on some of these wellish like spots. Oh, there's not a lot of paint left. Figures. It was trying to get down in some of these deeper crevices specifically. Just like that. Boom. Kind of let that sit, and it will naturally pool down in those crevices. Really gonna go like, wow, it's crazy. All right, hold on here. So there must be a cricket downstairs. We're going to lightly dab some more and kind of clean up some of these edges a little bit. All right. Make sure that his neck is not so covered. All right, I think it looks pretty good. Let's look back at the picture. All right, so the great thing about customizing is you go back as much as you need, right? So here's our Han with really just, you saw like 30 minutes worth of work. 2 colors, black and silver. And it's pretty good. It's right there. Looks good. All right. With that being the case, we're going to end the stream and call it a night. I will take some better pictures of this and work out these side panels a little bit later. And we'll do a follow-up stream later on, and we'll work on the tiny guy. Where'd he go? Tiny guy. Where'd you go? The tiny little white one. We'll start with this guy next. Kind of show you like what you can do with just a little figure, because some of these guys are easy to buy, and you might want to play starships with them, like with your friends on the tabletop, and boom, boom, boom. But you don't want them all look the same. Anyways, thanks for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the stream. I'll be back with you later on. Thanks again for watching. GM Spada, Sten Hunter, Imperial Starship or Imperial Shipyards.net. Check out my work. Have a great day, and thanks for watching. Bye bye.